Greetings. So you're probably looking through YouTube for some videos on how to install a detachable Tour-Pak kit on I think 97 to '08 Harley, the pre-Rushmore bikes, and I'm not sure about the early year. Every time I say this, I give a different earlier year, but I think it's 97 to '08, and then before that, I don't know what the solution is from Harley if you have a bike that's older than 97. But this detachable Tour-Pak kit, covers, I think 97 to '08. So that's a pretty wide variety of bikes. So why would you want to waste 3 hours watching this video or these series of videos when you can watch a 20-minute video that'll show you how to install the Tour-Pak? Well, you can do it the way they did it. And there's a couple of really good videos out there, and I watched them and I said, oh, that's pretty cool. So I know how to do it now. But there's some things about the standard Harley solution that I don't like. And if you like my solution, then you might want to do things my way instead of the Harley way. And, I'll show you that in the next couple of sections. So first, when you see this big bar and shield up here, there'll be a topic, and it'll be a hint to you that a new topic is being covered. So here is my final solution on the left. This is my 2008 Ultra Classic, and you can tell that it has the detachable Tour-Pak kit on it from those triangular looking pieces at the rear of the bike. And that is the kit. That's the detachable kit. But the fender looks a lot different than the Harley design because I didn't like the Harley design. I thought it was butt ugly. So I chose to have a rear fender that's really clean. It doesn't have any junk across it. It has a tail light, turn signals, and a license plate. There's no extra garbage cluttering up your fender. And it's a nice clean looking look. It's like the custom baggers that you see. They don't, when people are making custom baggers, they tend to take things off of their rear fender. There's actually some integrated lights now where, they don't even have a tail light. I think some of the new street lights don't have a tail light. They have a really small turn signal bar, and those turn signals are multifunction. They're running lights, brake lights, and turn signals. So I don't think there's a tail light on some of the new street lights, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. Plus, there's absolutely no solution from Harley Davidson about adding rear lighting. Now, why would you want to add rear lighting? When you take the Tour-Pak off, all of your lighting went bye-bye. It's gone. All you have is a tail light now. And, it's a running light and a brake light. And then you have your turn signal bar. And the turn signal bar, those are 1156 lights. They're blinkers only. They're not 1157 with two elements. So one element is a running light, and then you have blinkers. So, you only have a tail light when you take your Tour-Pak off, which is bad and dangerous because, somebody behind you could mistake you for a car with, say you're, riding late at night and it's raining and it's visibility isn't that great. Somebody behind you can think that you're a car with one tail light out, and they could pass you and hit your left saddlebag and send you flying. So there's plus if your tail light goes out, I'm sure everybody's seen tail lights like this on cars or bikes where they're filled with water because it's wet back there. And that'll kill your bulb, and if that happens, you don't have any lighting at all in the back. So it's nice to have some backup lighting. It's nice to have a sufficient amount of lighting. And this is something Harley didn't think out very well. There's no solution for the lighting. There's nothing that Harley offers. So if you follow the other videos and do the conversion to a detachable Tour-Pak the Harley way, you're going to have an ugly ass rear fender, and you're also going to have no lighting in the back. And you know that if you've ever changed your taillight bulb, say your blinker went out, your brake light went out, and you only have a running light, and you want to take that plastic piece off and put in a new 1157 bulb, you'll see when you take that lens off, the red plastic piece, that the bezel, the chrome part, the frame of the tail light, is kind of used as a circuit board. There's I think 6 connectors that go into that board. So there's not a whole lot of room back there. You have lighting coming out of the rear lighting harness, and it comes out underneath and bends up toward that little circuit place where you plug these things in, and there's only about 1 inch of wiring showing. And you might want to take that off if you think, wow, I can add some extra lighting. Don't tap into those wires, because there's only 1 inch of wire. What are you going to do? Cut it at a 1/2 inch and then try to tap it, either that or use some crazy ass plastic connector that pinches the wire and, gives you a lead for, some LED lights or something. That's not standard. Don't use that. Don't do it. Don't even think about tapping into the tail light. It's just a bad idea. Okay. The standard, which is the Harley standard for everything, is to take your seat off and tap into the wiring harness. And Harley gives you some places to do that, except in the big ass, harness that goes into your rear fender. Take your seat off and look at that big ass wire, big ass cable of wires that goes into your rear fender, and follow it out for like 1 inch, and you'll see some connectors that Harley makes. Take the connectors apart. Now the standard for Harley for everything else, like, your accessory port, they give you an accessory port if you want to, add some cell phone chargers to the front end, or say a Garmin, you can tap into the accessory port. They give you one. And a lot of times people that tap into the accessory port will be smart enough to buy a Y connector. So you put the Y connector in, then you plug your accessory in, and then you have an extra, accessory port, because the Y connector had 2 ends on it. So that's the standard, and it's a standard in the new bikes. But unfortunately on this bike, there was never a Y connector made that will tap in to the connectors on the rear harness, the rear fender harness. There was never a part ever made. Okay. So that's a little bit of a lack of foresight on Harley's part. So the solution would be, if you took it to a Harley dealer, they could make you one. And, you pay $130, $150 an hour for some guy to, solder in a new connector. And, you could do that. I would imagine it would cost you at least a couple $100. And if you want a rear wiring harness that goes to the back, and if you hand the guy some lights, like I have here on the right, and say, hey, connect these, I would imagine you're looking at, $300 or $400 minimum, and maybe $500 to do that. There's a lot of labor involved. And, like I said, this is kind of a lack of thought on Harley's part. They made the detachable Tour-Pak kit here, and like I said, I don't like the way it looks, and I don't like the fact that you're left with no lighting in the rear end except for your tail light. So the solution on the newer models, the Rushmore bikes, Rushmore is when they integrated all these new, like the detachable, they call it a 4-point detachable, I don't know, bracket or whatever. It's 4 points, but it's actually 2 mounting points. And those 2 mounting points have an inner and outer thing. So your Tour-Pak goes on the outer one, your sissy bar, or passenger backrest / rack, luggage rack, goes on the inside one. So it's really well thought out in the Rushmore bikes, which I think are 2009 and after. Now, I didn't know that when I bought this bike. I bought a 2008 because I wanted, oil-cooled heads. I wanted a 6-speed tranny. I wanted a bigger engine, so I wanted a 2008 and newer. I didn't realize at the time that 2009 would have given you some different mounting hardware in the back. But I don't know what point in time Harley started giving you the Y connector. I know that I ordered a part through a real common motorcycle supplier for Harley OEM and Harley aftermarket stuff. That was JP, and Dennis Kirk had the same exact thing. But that wiring harness, that Y connector, doesn't work. Because why? Because the connector is completely different. If you take a look at your 97 to 08 Harley, you're going to see a 6-pin connector that goes into the rear harness. And that 6-pin connector is 2 rows of 3. And the new connectors are 1 row of 6. So they don't go together. There's just no way you're going to get them to go together. And Harley makes the plastic part, the connector. You can actually find a part number. I had my local Harley, 2 Harley dealerships track that down for me and give me the part number. But the thing is, they don't have it in stock, and neither does any Harley dealer in the Midwest. And I actually did find a dealer on the East Coast that had both the male and the female part. But for the male part, they were missing the pins. They didn't have the pins, which are rectangular. Plus, if you're going to make your own connector like that, there's issues with it. And that's because these connectors, I forget what the name of it is. It's a German design where you have a plastic piece and then you have all these pin connectors, and you just crimp your wires in there and shove the pins in. The problem with that design, and I've been around for a while. I'm an automotive engineer. I've been in the business for over 30 years. I've got a couple master's degrees. I started my own engineering consulting firm, so I know a few things about automotive engineering. So the problem with these, make your own pins, is they corrode. And when you go to take them apart, either the male is going to pull the female part through, or the female is going to pull the male part through. Or when you're putting them together, one's going to push the other one out the back, because that's what happens with these connectors. And, if you use that type, they're just not made to be connected and disconnected many times, because they will corrode up, and, when they corrode up, they stick together. And it's much better to get a wiring harness that's pre-made, that has the wires sticking out, and then you have wires to solder. Because, if you buy that kind of harness, like the new 2020 Harley harness, the Y harness for the rear seat or the rear fender connector, it's pre-made. The pins are formed inside the plastic, so you don't have to worry about, pins pulling out. So anyways, my solution's a little different. The picture on the left, you get a nice clean fender. The solution on the right, you have some lighting in the back of your bike. Now, after I was done with this, I had 2, area Harley dealerships that were helping me, and I appreciate the hell out of the help they gave me. But I gave them some feedback, and I told them, you got to tell Harley that this is crazy. They're discouraging people from not putting lighting on the back of their bike. So tell them I'm going to go contact every injury lawyer in the country and say, let me know if, somebody that does a Tour-Pak conversion gets run over by a semi, behind them because they didn't see the tail light, or the tail light was out. Because, I could provide you with a lot of information that Harley was incompetent in their design. So I told them, give some feedback to Harley and see if they can get a supplier to make a couple hundred of Y connectors for these older bikes. And so you might see that happen, because both guys gave me feedback on what I said. I want to hear, that you contacted Harley, and they both did. So, if I was Harley and I was looking at that, like I said, I've been in the business for a while. That's a liability, And all they have to do to take care of that liability is make a damn wiring harness, a Y adapter for these old bikes, something that works with the connectors that you already have. Like I said, that piece was never made. There was never any solution for, adding lighting to the rear of your bike once you take the Tour-Pak off. So that's one reason for watching this video. If you're not interested in doing the work to get additional lighting, or you don't care about the rear fender, then just don't waste your time watching all these crazy videos, and watch your own video that'll show you how to put the Tour-Pak kit on. Okay, save yourself some time if you don't want to do this extra work. So when you see this Harley bar and shield here, that means there's a new topic. So this is the first topic, Introduction to the Detachable Tour-Pak. So these are a couple pictures here from Harley. This is the standard Harley design. So you can see on the left, this is the Detachable Tour-Pak kit mounted onto the bike. And on the right, you can see the Tour-Pak has been detached and elevated. You can see how it attaches. You basically put the front end in first and a little, onto some bolts and bushings, and then you just drop the back end on and you clip those little clips and you're attached. It is a pretty good design, and actually they still use the same design on the upper part, with the 2-point mounting and big clips that clip it in. One thing you might want to keep in mind that, somebody knows how to take your Tour-Pak off. It might be gone when you get out of your motel room in the morning. There are locks made for this. But you can see, on the picture on the right, the part of the hardware that stays on the bike, there's those, V-shaped chrome tubing pieces with some bushings in them. There's a part going across the back of your bike that holds a license plate frame, and it holds it above the tail light, because your tail light did point. It did have a clear lens in it for illuminating the license plate. It had a provision for lighting up the license plate. So that's why Harley gives you a smaller piece of chrome here for holding your license plate, because you don't need that big ugly piece that was in there before. It's a really, really ugly piece. And Harley, with the kit, they give you the parts that go on the bike, the parts that go on the Tour-Pak, and the license plate. And that's the kit. Now, if you want to see what your bike would look like with a Tour-Pak off, there's just Google your bike, the year of your bike, and this is some kind of an Electra glide here. I don't see anything on the front fender. So, it could be an Ultra. It has a luggage rack on the Tour-Pak. But anyways, if you just Google the year of your bike and you see these beautiful conversions done, you'll see your bike, what it would look like as kind of a street glide, with the Tour-Pak off in the back. And it's never going to be a street glide. You still have the lower fairings in the front. You could actually turn it into an exact street glide by fooling around with the rear, taking off your lower fairings and putting on some street glide turn signals instead. You can make it look like it is a street glide. You can actually convert it into a street glide. But I like to think of my bike as as an Ultra with a detachable Tour-Pak. It's kind of street glide looking in the back, but it was never my intention to turn my bike into a street glide. But you can, whatever year you have, if you want to see what it looks like, without a Tour-Pak in the back, just Google it. There's like thousands of photos out there, and you'll see some in this presentation. There's also a lot of videos that'll show you what your bike looks like. So this is a newer bike. I don't know what year it is, 2018, 19, 20. This is a limited. So you can see how easy it is. Not only what the bike looks like, but you can see how easy it is to take off a Tour-Pak. So on the left, there's the Tour-Pak attached, and it has the new hardware. This is the 4-point mounting system. It's not the same as the old bikes. So they show you in this video, you just disconnect a few cables, 3 cables, and then you flip a couple levers and you take the Tour-Pak off. And on the right, they put a Street Glide seat on this bike. You can see it tapers in the back, and that just changes the looks of the bike, instead of having that big puffy seat in the back. But if you're going to put, a passenger backrest and luggage rack on it, you might want to keep the Ultra or the limited seat on it because it's more comfortable for passengers. Okay, this is a photo from Harley Davidson. You can see it up on the Harley site. And this is a typical, kit here. And it includes the structure on the top, which has a piece of tubing that replaces the piece of tubing that you saw when you took your Tour-Pak off. So, when you take your Tour-Pak off and you get rid of all the garbage, it's, all the tubing pieces, that were on there before, the new Tour-Pak kit comes with that piece of tubing. And that U-shaped piece of tubing here is just to add some structure to the Tour-Pak because it's a big piece of plastic. So they give you this tubing, and it is exactly the same size and shape as the tubing that you took off. And this whole structure, by the way, that don't put this together. Harley keeps showing it put together. Don't put it together, especially if you're going to use Loctite. Just don't do it. Don't, they always show you this put together, but keep in mind these are marketing people. Then you have the middle pieces here, which are 2 V-shaped pieces of tubing with some bushings and bolts that go with it. And then you have a much smaller license plate frame than the ugly piece that you had on there before you converted. And then you have an antenna relocation kit. So this would be for some kind of, Electra Glide. It would not be for an Ultra probably because it doesn't have 2 antenna relocation kits, one for the CB and one for the FM. But I'm not giving you a part number here because it varies, between a regular, classic and an Ultra Classic, or an Electra Glide and an Ultra. It varies year to year, what you get with a kit. They all kind of look the same, but they're going to have different kit part numbers. So, new topic, getting started removing the Tour-Pak. So, this kit here shows you, first of all, the official name of it is HD Detachable Tour-Pak Conversion Kit, right on the top. HD Detachables Tour-Pak Conversion Kit. So it says transform your Electra Glide Classic model or an Ultra Classic for around the town cruising. Now it doesn't say make a Street Glide out of it because technically it's not a Street Glide. You'd have to do some other work to change it into a Street Glide, and you can do that by removing the lower fairing and taking off the turn signal bar and putting on the Street Glide turn signal bar. You can make your Ultra, you can turn it into an actual Street Glide. But this is, basically a Street Glide looking bike with the Tour-Pak removed. So the kit contains everything you need to do, to do it. And like I said in a previous slide, the part number will vary from bike to bike. So you can see an example on the lower left here of the kit. So the first thing you want to do to take the Tour-Pak off is to remove the pouch that actually, bolts through the lining, and then just remove the lining. The lining will pull right out. And then the second picture here, ignore the red and black wiring. That's for a custom lighting kit that the previous owner had done. He told me it was at a Harley dealer, but they must have subbed it out. Why would you do all this work, in the Tour-Pak when there's only, a couple of lights in the back end? They had lights underneath the Tour-Pak and a couple of other lights underneath the turn signal bar, and that was it. But there's more wires here than what you need. I think they just use this because it's a big area that you can work on standing up, and it's there's just a lot of space here. So anyways, I pulled all that red wiring through. And what I wanted to show you in this middle picture here is the other connector. So unfortunately, Harley put a connector inside of the Tour-Pak. You don't want them inside of the Tour-Pak. You want them on the outside of the Tour-Pak. So we'll show you how to do that later. And then disconnect you need to disconnect that connector in the middle picture and pull the wire through. The opening is big enough for the connector to get through. And then you'll have two other connectors on the outside of the Tour-Pak that you'll need to disconnect. So here on the left picture, you can see a bolt, a hardened bolt going through the frame. And it has an aluminum spacer that's concave on one side that fits the curve of the tubing. Don't lose these. There's 5 of them. So just, put them someplace, put them with the new kit, because the new kit will use these. So if you have a box where the new kit came, just throw those in the box and you'll use them later. So at first when I looked inside here, I thought, oh, I need to unscrew the black nuts because that's what holds it on. And then I thought, well, no, that's not right. So anyways, the way that you figure out which bolts to unscrew and which ones to leave is you reach underneath the frame and see where there's the head of a bolt. So just put a socket on the nuts on the top if it has a corresponding bolt on the bottom of the frame. So you're probably going to use an open end wrench on the head of the bolt, and you'll use a socket to take the nut off. So I think here I have the arrows are pointing toward the ones that I took out. And there's a ground wire you can see with that black bolt, but there's an open hole to the left of that. There's 2 open holes at the top and 2 at the bottom. And those are the ones you want to take out. So just, make sure you take out the bolts that have, you take off the nuts that have a bolt corresponding to it in the bottom of the frame. The other nuts are to attach this big piece of metal plate to the Tour-Pak, so don't take those out. So once you take the Tour-Pak off, this will be what you're looking at, and you'll also see why the middle bolts didn't drop through in your hand when you unscrewed the nuts inside of the Tour-Pak. There's a little spinner nut on them, and you just squeeze it with a pair of pliers and pull it up, and then it'll drop through. Just remember, you should keep these bolts because they're probably better than the bolts that the new kit is going to come with. And you definitely need to keep these aluminum spacers that are concave, that are made to go with the tubing. They have the same radius as the tubing. But what I wanted to point out in this picture here is this piece of tubular steel that's been bent into a U shape where the red dotted line is. So this is really heavy gauge tubular steel. And it's been bent in a U shape, and it's also been pressed to a concave surface on the end so it can bolt onto it to the end of the frame. So this is the frame you're looking at where these 2 hardened bolts are. So that makes this piece of U-shaped tubing really, really strong. And it's strong it's the main structural element in the back of your bike for a couple of reasons. First, it's attached to the license plate frame. Now, if you notice, this license plate frame is a lot more heavy duty than what you would need to hold up a license plate, and that's because it is a structural element. And it hits the Tour-Pak right in the center of mass. So, these bolts are in the middle of the Tour-Pak. So this license plate frame bolted to this big, heavy, thick-walled piece of tubing is, the main structural element holding up your Tour-Pak. There's also a bar going across the top. So this bar going across the top is, quasi-structural. But the main reason for it is to give some structural rigidity to your Tour-Pak, because a Tour-Pak is basically a big piece of plastic. And the new kit will have a piece of this tubing here. And actually, it'll be cut off about where that top red arrow is. so that, you take this piece of tubing off, the new kit will have a piece of tubing that goes right where this did on the bottom of the Tour-Pak, only it doesn't extend down to the frame. Then the second reason that this piece of U-shaped tubing, the second reason that it's a main structural element is because it also holds up the main structure to your bag hardware. This big piece of chrome that goes down, diagonally down at the back of your bike that holds up. It connects to the, black tubing at the bottom that your bags actually sit on. So this tubing, supports the weight of the Tour-Pak and the weight of the bags. So that, that's why this is a really key piece in your setup here, the old setup. But, the only piece of this tubing that you actually need is, since your new hardware, your detachable kit is not going to attach to this piece of tubing. The only part of it that you need is the part that supports the bag hardware that I have outlined in a square. So this piece, if you take a look at the tubing, if you remove those two hardened bolts and take the tubing off, you can see a black plate that's welded to it, behind it. And that black plate is what attaches to this large this large chrome piece that, supports your bag hardware. So, I took a look at this and thought, I'm not real crazy about this big piece of tubing going across the back of my bike, and I'm not real crazy about having a license plate frame there. I want to clean up my fender a little bit and kind of go with a more modern trend of having a cleaned up fender. So I don't want a piece of tubing going across my bike. So you could do it two ways. I mean, you could either leave it there like Harley shows it, or you could cut it off. I chose to cut it off. So if you take a look at the YouTube videos, there's a bunch of YouTube videos that show, how to assemble this detachable kit. And these are a couple of the videos that are really good. The one on the top, this dark green bike, is from Ontario. And both of these are really excellent. The guy with the green bike actually lays out the kit in order on the floor to show you what order all the bolts go in. And then the guy in the bottom left that piece of the license plate frame on there, which is kind of bulky. But, I think he just didn't get around to putting the plate on that comes with the kit. And you can see on the right the Harley picture. So Harley shows that this detachable kit lifted up above the bike. So you can see the part that attaches to the Tour-Pak and the part that attaches to the bike. They give you a new license plate frame that goes on that tubing. And that's why everybody does this, is that's what Harley shows. Why? Because it makes it a lot easier to just leave that tubing on, and you already have a license plate frame, and you already have a upward pointing lens in the tail light that lights up the license plate. So it's an easy solution. But you do have a bar going across the back of your bike. So here's some pictures of some bikes of this vintage from 98 to 08, I think it was, or 97 to 08. And these are pictures of a few different bikes. A couple of them could be Electra glides or Ultras, and maybe there's a Road King in here with a hard bag, or maybe there's a Street Glide. Hard telling without looking at the rest of the bike. They all have, let's see, bars, lighting bars. It looks like the three on the top are actually Ultras or Electra glides. Then the blue one on the bottom is probably a Street Glide because it has the shorter turn signal bars. It's hard telling by just looking at the back of the bike, but there's some hints you can look at. So all of these bikes have one thing in common. They have that big U-shaped piece of steel going across the fender, which is something I thought, I want to clean up my fender and make it look a little bit, a little bit more like a modern Street Glide. So I'm not the first one to think of cutting this tubing off. Here's another guy in Florida that did it. Now this is well after I, did it to my bike, and I saw this picture and I thought, wow, that's exactly the look I'm going for. Kinda, except for one thing. This guy put the license plate in a crazy place, underneath the bag, which is a little crazy. So, it's just I don't know if a cop can't see your license plate, you're going to get cited sooner or later. So I don't know if the guy kept it here or not, but it looks like it's attached to the baggage hardware underneath the bag, and the bag is covering part of the license plate, and the other part might be going inside the fender a little bit. So, that's not the best idea, but I like the looks of this bike. I like the looks of the rear fender without the big tubing going across the fender. It's a nice clean look, and that's what I wanted to do. New topic, the Harley-Davidson detachable mounting kits for 97 to 08. Now, if you have a newer bike, 09 to 20, then you have that 4-point docking hardware, which is a superior design because you can put the Tour-Pak and the passenger backrest and luggage rack all go in the same place. You don't have a forward mounting kit and a rear mounting kit. It's a 4-point mounting kit. Everything attaches to the same location on the bike. So this is a photo on the left that it's on the Harley site, but you can download it and lighten it significantly and add some contrast, and you can actually see the parts. Otherwise, you're looking at a photo on the upper right that's all black and you can't tell what's going on. So the forward mounting kit or the front mounting kit is a couple of black plates and a bunch of nuts and bolts and spacers. Okay, so that is for mounting passenger backrests or just luggage racks or a combination of the two. Okay, the rear kit is a couple of V-shaped tubing pieces with plates welded to them, and that is for mounting the Tour-Pak. Okay, so there's two different kits. They look way different. Make sure you buy the right kit for the right thing. Okay, we'll take a close look here at the rear kit. So first, where I have some dotted ovals, the triangular pieces have been improved by Harley, and they don't show them on the original picture here. So now they extend to cover both bolt holes, so you bolt through this piece twice. And also, if you look at the triangular pieces, the part of the piece with two bolt holes is the top. Okay, so in the picture, I don't know whether that had something to do with them extending the top, because people would mount this upside down because it only had one bolt hole on each side, or maybe it had something to do with structural strength. I don't know, but either way, now when you buy the kit, you ought to be seeing a triangular piece with two holes. Keep in mind that's the top. Also, the plate is, toward the outside. So in the view on the right with the two triangular pieces, the top plate is the right piece, the bottom plate is the left piece. Okay, this is a better look at the front mounting kit for the backrests and luggage racks. So this is the mounting kit that has two black plates, not triangular bars, black plates. And the black plate is mounted in the same place as the triangular bar. So this is why I highly recommend that you buy both kits, unless you know for a fact that you're never going to want a backrest or a luggage rack. Okay, because otherwise, buy them both now. Even if you're going to put off a backrest for a while, or it's a someday maybe project, we'll see. Buy it now, because you put these kits together. The black plate goes behind the triangular pieces, and it's not like it's an eyesore. You can't even see it because your bag is on there all the time. So just, buy it now. This is a cheap kit. It should cost in the neighborhood of $35 or something like that. So you can buy combination kits where they give you the backrest or the Tour-Pak mounting uh, frame and the mounting hardware. But you have to be careful when you're going to buy a combination kit. So the kit on the left is a legitimate kit, and Harley sells this kit, and a lot of aftermarket people will sell it too. So you have the triangular bars and all the hardware that goes with it. Plus you have the part that mounts onto the Tour-Pak. And also, just to say this, I mentioned this later on, do not assemble the part that goes on the Tour-Pak like it shows you in the diagram here. Don't do that. Now the part on the right, it's wrong because the black plates are for mounting backrests and luggage racks. It's not for mounting the Tour-Pak. So here's some idiot on eBay selling both of these as a kit, and it's still up there. I just checked. So, just watch out when you're buying kits. Make sure you buy the right stuff. So again, on the left, bad kit. Those two things don't go together. If you buy that kit, you'll be scratching yourself and you'll be scratching your head for a long time. The other two are legitimate kits. The black plates go with backrests and luggage racks, and the triangular bars go with that big frame that mounts on the Tour-Pak. And again, don't put that frame together. We'll go over that a little bit more. So here's the idiot that's selling this Tour-Pak mounting hardware that's got the Tour-Pak frame with the mounting hardware for a backrest. And I've written to this guy. He just doesn't read his email. And he sells a lot of Harley stuff, but he's an idiot in California, doesn't know what a Harley is. Okay? And this kit, hopefully not many people buy this kit. So, if you get confused and you see this picture of from the Harley site, this shows you the mounting frame mounted to the Tour-Pak. Now that's the only time that this kit should be together is when you mount it to the Tour-Pak. So that picture on the right is just wrong. Just don't connect that frame together because the bolts have to go through the Tour-Pak. If you mount it like that, then you're just going to have to take it apart. Okay, this was the original slide. I had to remind you that the part has been changed, and I decided to leave it in because why not reiterate a little bit. The V-shaped pieces of tubing have been extended to 2 bolts, and that is the top. And it goes through, it uses both bolts on your mounting hardware, or the part that's attached to the bike, the plate that's attached to that round tubing. So just another reminder. And also you can see, take a good look at the left side of the picture here. The plate is toward the outside. So in this photo here, on the right, where I have the arrow, the piece that the arrow is pointing to is the right side. And you know that because if you put those 2 bolts on the top, the plate is on the right side of the tubing. So it goes on the right side of the bike. That should be pretty much flush with the tubing. And then the other pieces, goes on the left side. And again, another reminder, you should install both these kits at the same time because they go in the same place. All right. That's the main reason for doing that. And, like I said, unless you're never going to want a luggage rack or you're never going to want a passenger backrest. And even so, maybe you ought to consider buying this kit for the next guy. Okay, this is what all this stuff looks like on my bike right now. So I installed the front mounting kit, and I do have a luggage rack sissy bar or passenger backrest, but I'm not going to be using it for a while. I'll be riding without that for a while. But again, it's a good idea to put it in right now. And then here you can see that frame that mounts with the triangular tubing. and we'll go over that in detail. And also, this picture shows a really good shot of that cut off piece of tubing that used to go across the fender that holds the license plate frame. Which, that's kind of an eyesore, and as soon as I cut it off and mounted it in there and saw that chrome cover doesn't cover it up, I ordered some chrome caps for it. Now, my bike has about a 7/8 outside diameter tubing and 3/4 inch inside. This is really heavy duty tubing. You're going to get a little bit of exercise when you cut that off with a hacksaw. But if you're looking for something to put over that on eBay, the things on the left are called end caps, chrome end caps. So you can look at that, and that's not an automotive. And on the right, these caps are 3/4 inch also, but they're called spring caps. So, and neither one of these are an automotive. They use end caps for all kinds of tubing. You see it in office furniture and stuff like that. So it's going to be in the business industrial section of eBay and not in eBay Motors. But just look up, a couple of those and decide what you want. The pack I bought, or at first I did buy 2 of the end caps, and then I misplaced them for a while. I have them now. And then I also ordered a pack of these spring caps because I think this is like about $2.50 for a pack of 10 of them. So, you have some choices here. And again, this is what the bike looks like with all the hardware mounted and the Tour-Pak off. You can see I don't have the seat moved up all the way forward or the bolt put through the back. But you can just see that the fender line is, pretty clean, and it gives you a lot of options for, locating things later.